So we'll do a short video of how I sorted out the tone arm and it dropping down so quickly. All the damping for the tone arm happens in this post here, and the way it's made is the black piece that you can see here is an outside collet, and there's a pin that runs through the middle into the underside, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. And when the tone arm is lifted either by the lever or automatically when you switch the turntable on, the pin in the middle is lifted up through here onto this plate, and that in turn lifts the tone arm or lowers the tone arm when it goes down onto the record. And the collet is filled with a very heavy silicone, and the silicone acts as a damper, so it reduces the speed at which the pin can move through the collet. The pin is also sprung, so that heavy grease or heavy oil needs to be able to push against the spring and stop the spring from happening and moving too quickly. So in order to fix this, I started by trying to squeeze grease in here, but it just didn't happen. It just couldn't get in, so I had to disassemble the assembly. And in order to do that, the first thing I did was I removed this screw off the top here, and then the screw under here that acts as the pivot vertically, and then this is the pivot horizontally. And once I'd removed those, that meant that this piece of the tone arm was very loose, and I could then twist it a little bit out of the way, enough to start disassembling this mechanism here. To disassemble the mechanism here, at the top there's a little cap that pops off, that comes off quite easily with a pair of tweezers. Underneath the cap, just in here, there is a clip, an E-clip, which clips onto the pin in the middle of the collet there, and then this piece here unscrews off from the collet, and that can then be lifted out over the top. And then underneath this there is another pin on that another clip on that pin, and again that clip needs to come off. That then means that all of the top of the pin is free, and then we need to look underneath in order to remove it from the bottom of the turn. So now we're looking at the underside of the turntable, and I will just zoom in here and show you where the pin is, and it's right here, hidden just inside there. Now that looks very hidden away, but actually it's not too bad to get to. This main lever here can be removed very easily by removing, again, clips from here and underside, and you can slide that pin out, and then this piece comes off relatively easily. One word of warning, as I'm sure you're aware, those clips ping off and disappear very easily, so hold on to them. So that takes out this piece here, and then this is the cueing arm lever, and again there is a clip here that comes off, and then from the top you need to unscrew, certainly for this turntable, unscrew the screw in the top that holds this plate on, and then this whole piece here comes off. And once those are off, you can then slide this black pin here, which was the pin that we were looking at from the other side, out completely. Give it a good clean, and then I filled from underside, filled the collet with the grease, and I'll show you what I used in a second, and then slid the pin with the spring on the top back up through the collet, and some of the grease squeezed out of the top, but basically it was completely full of that grease. And then I could replace this piece back, clip it back in here, screw it in here, put this clip back, and then put this arm back in as well, making sure that this arm here is over this pin and underneath the arm. And then from the top, just repeat the process of putting the pin tops back on. So putting the clips back on, the screw cap back on, the second clip, and then the cap on the top, and then screwing the pivot screws of the arm back in for the pivot mechanism, making sure you don't over tighten them. I did that the first time, and that makes it quite difficult to for the mechanism to work, and I came across all sorts of problems with that. So make sure you don't over tighten them. And the silicone that I used was this silicone oil 300k that I bought off eBay, and it's not that expensive, and as you can see there's a fair bit left, even me having had to go from the top before I did it properly by disassembling the whole lot and doing it from the bottom. This is the mechanism all back together again, and you can see that the little cap on the top of the pin there goes up and down nice and slowly now that we've got that silicone oil in there. One final thing with this screw here and the same one on the side is that I just use a pair of tweezers up in here, and that's the locking nut. So once that center screw is at the right tension, which as I said is very light, you can then tighten that up with this locking nut here. And then replace the counterbalance. I always take the counterbalance off the back of the arm, remove the cartridge, remove the platter, which reduces the weights and the forces as you turn the turntable over to work on it from underside, and then start playing the music.